All right, welcome back to another great episode of Dr. J Radio Live. Of course, I'm your host, Dr. J, broadcasting from the City of Angels. Again, a very hot damn city, which I would like to move closer to the beach, albeit it's a whopping 25 miles away. It's still very hot in Los Angeles County. Now, today is a super duper very important show. We have one of our favorite guests, our recurring guests, and a very good friend of mine who happens to come visit me every so often when he's in Los Angeles. Now, you all know him as Dr. Louis Turi, and he is he's a lot of things. He's a contactee. He does predictions. He uses Nostradamus' techniques. And literally every single time he's been on the show, he has given predictions to the date. And then we bring him back on to discuss what happened on those dates. So, without further ado, let's welcome back the one and only Dr. Turi. Dr. Turi, welcome to the show.
Hey, my good friend, thank you so much for having me again on your wonderful show, DJ. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's always a pleasure having you. Always a pleasure. Now, I have to sort of dance around this question here. Let me find out what is happening here for a quick second. Okay, because I told you that certain words will get us flagged, so let's play around with it and see what happens here. Okay, now, tell me why what do you think is going on with the pandemic?
The pandemic is created physically and most of all spiritually. That's going to be a little bit complex for our audience to perceive unless I give you some grounding. The future is nothing else than the reincarnation of the thought. This being said, the computer that you're using now, the car you drive, the microphone you speak in, the watch you wear all the way to the city of Los Angeles, Washington, Paris, New York, London, once upon a time did not exist. As we've been made in the image of God, we are creators. We create our reality, good or bad. Now, when it comes to the coronavirus, this is where I don't want to make enemies because I have to involve our president, sad enough. Our president had a wish, and his wish is to build the biggest wall, the tallest wall, the strongest wall ever, and it is right now being constructed on the border of Mexico. And his wish is to put America in a bubble. Now there is a wall, but it's not a physical wall. It is coronavirus. What happened is the thought of the most powerful man in the world is followed by millions of people, not only in the United States, but all over the world, who vibrate at this cosmic speed. And they add to his thought. And here you go. Coronavirus is born out of a lab somewhere in China. It doesn't matter, but it's the essence of creation that is induced by the human thought process, which is taking care by the superconscious in time and space that at the end create our reality. So that's why it's so very careful, so very important and critical to control your thought. So that is how I believe, through my own cosmic wisdom, why we are cursed with coronavirus.
Do you think that because this has been put in the people's consciousness, that it came as a result of people putting their energy as far as energizing it via their thoughts?
Exactly. I mean, anything around you, anything about you is all about the thought. Again, I got to go back and repeat myself that we have been made in the image of God. You know it or not, you like it or not, we are God and goddesses in training on this dense physical world to create our reality. And the subconscious in time and space, oh God, if you want to call it that way, does not rationalize. The most important, most powerful thought will sooner or later be right in front of your face. Again, I have to repeat myself. Remember, anything around you once upon a time did not exist. We create everything first in the thought, and then by the magical forces of creation, because humans are so much more than the bone, blood, and nerves. We are human being endowed with creation. Sad enough, we also, as I said earlier, create negativity. So let me rephrase this. Maybe your audience will be able to understand me better, because passing on such a high level of metaphysical information is sometimes difficult to assimilate. Life is made in two forces, positive and negative, up and down, black and white, the front, the back, God, devil, yin and yang, the day, the night, male, female, 2 eyes, 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 sides of the brain. Everything is symmetrical. 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 month, 6 months, 6 months, 1 year. You see the split. Now, there is only two forces, positive and negative. So there is no way or no chances for life to be, or you to be, on one leg. Everything is split. So you either work for the forces of light, that's progress, education, respect, love, integrity, education, or you support and endorse the forces of evil, and then you are negative and you destroy and you kill, or you build viruses. And this comes from, most of all, from the group of extraterrestrials, because again, you have a good ETs and you have bad ETs.
Let me guess, the Reptilius and the Draconis, right?
Correct. The reptilians can only survive in this dense physical world with our negativity, our fear. They need chaos, they need war, they need blood, they need fire. And they hijack the human psyche because they're already in your head. They're already part of your metabolism, of your conception, of your atomic structure, of your spiritual values. They're already inside. And then the other side is the Draconis. These are the positive groups of extraterrestrials that stimulate the mind of scientists to create technology like the one we are using now to talk, or help doctors to create technology that gets your heart back together. While the reptilians stimulate the mind of scientists to create nukes, to create viruses, to create weaponry that kill tanks and bombs and God knows what. So it's all about the yin and yang. So yes. Once you understand that, the will, or the part of God in each one of us, is much stronger. Your will, you can read here, but if you're not educated, if you do not understand the split that I just mentioned, and the Zeti's psychical effect, you're gonna be a robot. And what's going on right now? There is a dance of evil all around the world because a lack of education, a lack of awareness of negative entities that have took over the psyche of millions of human beings.
I'm glad you brought up the yin-yang. That's actually really important because that's the balance of light and good. I think I've heard another term. Is it chi, or am I incorrect on that?
No, you're right. You're right. Again,
we can't have bad without good, and we can't have good without bad. It's an equal balance, right?
Exactly. If you want to have any chance for life, for existence, you've got to have opposite. Without opposites, there is no life. Meantime, a magnet will attract a piece of wood. There are a lot of people out there that say, wow, how come I cannot see a UFOs? Because their cosmic makeup is too rational. They are scientists. They are atheists. They are designed by God himself to build a gearbox or bridges, or to delegate with the world with their 5 logical, rational human senses. Now, you have other souls that are born with a different cosmic ID, so to speak, or a UCI, or a unique celestial identity, which allow those people to delegate the archetypal realm of supracosmic consciousness, or can understand a little bit more the spiritual domain of my work. But there is a lot of people who cannot attract extraterrestrials because they don't believe in it. There is nothing to believe in. It is not a religion. It's like astrology. You don't believe in it, you got to study. But if you don't have the essence, the cosmic energy, you will never attract extraterrestrials. It's like, Michael Jackson, for example. You're not going to teach him how to dance or sing. And he never went to an accredited school to learn how to sing and dance. And like Mozart or Beethoven playing music, or fantastic artists creating wonderful painting. This is called gifts. It's inherited. It's your cosmic design. It's part of your karma. It's part of your gift, or it's part of your curse. If you happen to be a negative soul made to endorse and promote the darkness, the evil, and negativity, and harassing me on my movie on the on Amazon Prime.
Which we'll talk about at the end of the show, but while you just mentioned it, let's plug it in, because for everybody out there who's got Amazon Prime, I highly suggest you check it out. It just came out, and because I'm a big fan of my good friend Dr. Turi, it came up as a suggested video, and I saw it, had a chance to see it. It is called, I'll let you say it, Dr. Turi.
It's called Alien Abduction, discussion with Dr. Turi. Actually, I have two movies going on. The one that you're supposed to actually look is called Alien Contactee, but there is two. Basically, this is a movie where I have explained my 5 UFOs experience in great detail. The emotion, the intensity, the sincerity is felt by so many people. I nearly have already close to 100 endorsements. Of course, you have infected souls out there that are envious or insecure or carry an inferiority complex or God knows what. They will bash me. They will try to hurt my integrity instead of benefiting from the deep message that is designed to help them more than anybody else, but they don't get it. And what's interesting, about 2 weeks ago, John, I had 2 more abductions. When you're ready, I can explain it to you.
Oh, absolutely. It's perfect because I'm actually rolling some UFO footage in the background in anticipation of that. I'm actually very excited about that because, as you know, the only reason I started this in the first place, which has grown to much more topics, including everything under the sun that I enjoy, was specifically for UFOs and, more importantly, within UFOs, crash and retrievals, and more importantly, alien abduction and contact. So please let us know.
Well, of course, as you know, there is already a lot of activity with extraterrestrials because the Draconis are already battling since forever above your head. There is a war taking place with the good and the bad ET, put it this way. But there is a lot of activity because they do not want their project or their agenda to go down the drain, put it this way. So the end of the world, the apocalyptic time, this is not going to happen. The extraterrestrial, the progressive, the positive, the benevolent Draconis will not allow it. So that's the good news. So let's go back to that experience. I do have cops and nurses, friends and clients and students in New York. And a few weeks ago, I decided to, because I have my Class A license and nobody wanted to go to the East Coast in New York, I decided to do the job. So it is paying a lot of money. So at the same time, I can buy myself a new boat and a new truck. Why not?
Yeah.
So I decided to serve the world both physically and spiritually. And I was assigned to go to a trip to Las Vegas hub because with what happened with all the disturbances, they stopped us for a few days. Not traveling through those big cities and taking chances with FedEx trailers content. So they sent me to Vegas. I went to Vegas with a couple of trailers and the truck. I did my delivery and I came back and everything was fine. And the next day they said, "Hey, Louis, you need to go back. Same route, same thing." All right. So it's about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. I can't exactly remember the exact time I took off. All I remember is that I was listening to George Norrie. And because I was in the middle of the desert, now and then I was losing the signal and I was upset. And the last conversation they had was about contactees and abductees and why there is no any more discussion or contactee or abduction that make the news. So as I was listening to this, I lost the signal, and it wasn't the replay time, so it has to be after 2 o'clock in the morning by the time I was driving. And then my last thought was, what if, after 5 UFOs experience, if the ETs decide to show themselves to me and maybe choose me as introducing our space brother? When you drive, you and your thought, you do all sorts of, you think of sort of thing. Oh my God. As that very precise moment, I was driving full speed, 65 miles per hour on Highway 93, and I was going
Is that
east.
Arizona?
Yeah, in Arizona.
Okay.
93 east, full speed, 65 miles. I had about 80,000 pounds of equipment in my hand.
Wow.
And then there was no speed limit. I did drove through some construction, and they tell you, you know what, 55 and then 35
slow down,
and
basically.
25. Yeah. So, and then at the very moment I was going full speed, all of a sudden, in the middle of the highway, there was like a fork, like a Y. Oh my God, I was shocked. I was so surprised. I jumped on the brakes as hard as I could. And then I said, okay, do I go left or do I go right? Because I was on the right side and because I was going so fast, there's no way that I could turn left because I would flip the trailers. So I turned right and I slowed down the truck and I said, my God, that's incredible. That's so freaking dangerous. What's wrong? I didn't see that last night. Now listen to this. By the time I picked up my speed, and again, I don't want to see my grandchildren if I'm making this up. I got better thing to do than to lie and make up stories about UFOs or abduction. Believe me, John. Okay? By the time I accelerate my truck to 65 again, I was on high 40 going west.
So now, you jumped from the 93 to 40.
Yes, and then it's impossible. It's impossible to do this. You have to go through a ramp, a long ramp that goes along the highway, and then you're on 40. And I was past the ramp. So I was so confused. The only person I could call, of course, was my wife, because it was after 2:00 in the morning. So she talked to me, tried to keep my marbles together, and then I was just shocked. Then as I was driving to Vegas, I thought, I know I'm going to come back tomorrow at 10:00 during the day. I'm going to give a good look. Maybe, I don't know, in one night they made a new ramp or something. I don't know. I'm going to look at that very precise area very carefully, take some pictures if I have to. Guess what? I drove there very, very carefully. There is only one way to go from 93 to 40, and this through this big, huge ramp. Now, listen to this. 10:00 in the morning, I decided to call my friend Tom. The problem is I have two Tom, so I was so shocked, so lost, that I ended up calling Tom Deinheiser, which is George Norris' producer.
That's right.
And he was sleeping. He was pretty pissed off because.
What time did you call him?
Yeah, so I didn't know that he was Tom. So I was just going, oh my gosh, you have no idea what's going on. So I was trying to explain myself, and then I finally realized I was talking to Tom, and he politely told me to, let him sleep. But Tom never ever realized the depth of. He felt in my voice the trauma, the confusion, the shock that I was under, and he never invited me on Coast to Coast to talk about this. I mean, it's amazing. This was real. This was on the moment. So finally, I decided to call the other Tom, my webmaster, my genius friend, a really good colleague is there to save my butt. So he talked to me for a long time. He knows me. He's been working with me for years. He's like a family. He's like a brother. Mm-hmm. So he really, really calmed me down. And then I said, okay, well, I'll take it as it is. Okay, so I went home, and the next day they said to me, my boss again, they said to me, well, Louis, you're not going to go to Vegas this time. You're going to go to Sierra Blanca in Texas. I said, okay, I'm going to go there. But listen, there is something I want to tell you. Please, please, please don't think I'm crazy, okay? This is, well, what are you talking about? I said, when I jump on the brake so hard. And every FedEx have a camera inside. They look inside if you don't do anything stupid, and also look outside in case there is an accident. That is for security or insurance purpose. You understand that? So I was entirely and completely convinced the way I jump on those brakes, that camera is always recording anyway. They're recording for the entire week. So I said, look, is there any way we could have access to this movie, to what happened on my shift? Because I don't know what the hell I went from one highway to the other one. This is absolutely mind-boggling. So I wanted to know. He says, no problem. So we waited a few days, and we finally got a response from FedEx. You know what they said?
What?
They said that my shift from the beginning to the end is recorded, apart from that moment after 2 o'clock in the morning is not there on the camera. It's not in the movie.
Ha! Go figure. I'm actually glad you brought that up, and let me tell you why. I've noticed that, okay, let's go back to 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. There was a lot of UFOs caught on still cameras, a lot black and white, and then eventually color, and back when there was VHS camcorders. Now, what I've come to realize, if you look at the technology then, what did it involve? It involved gears, mechanical working parts, right? None of it was electrical. There was no circuitry. What I've noticed now, since people primarily use smartphones and digital cameras, is that they have the ability to shut them off. So what I'm wondering is that when people do capture them, is it because they're finally allowing it? But again, I've noticed that when there was that period, I don't know, maybe I'd say in the mid to late, maybe early 2000s too, when things started blowing up more, especially when we started hearing more things on the media and from Department of Defense that, hey, there is something out there, instead of them debunking it as usual, then of course they seem to capture more footage. So it seems to me that when they want you to let you to capture it, they do. But apparently they didn't want you to capture the abduction.
Correct. And I have an explanation for you. But let me finish, because that's not over. Okay. The very next day, I was supposed to go to Sierra Blanca to Texas. So I left. I was supposed to leave around, I think, 10:30 or 11 o'clock in the morning. So I said goodbye to my wife, and I was still in shock with all what just happened to me. And then I thought, as I went into my car and I drove on 51 going south, on the way to 10, and I'm supposed to exit at 51st Avenue and then go into FedEx Hub. Things that the car itself does it, because we do it, every so often to go to work. So, and I was thinking, my gosh, what happened to me? What happened to me last night, early morning? What happened to me? And again, it's incredible. I did not see the ramp that leads me onto 10. Furthermore, I did not see the nearly half a mile tunnel. And the only thing I remember on 10 is 35th Avenue. That's nearly 7 miles. Now, you cannot trip when you have 80,000 pounds in your hand 1 second. You kill yourself or you kill somebody. And you cannot trip for 7 miles, John. It happened to me. So I was just so really, really confused. After that, I made a video and I talked to my friend and so forth twice consecutively. So I was channeling Draco, and he told me, Louis, they want to give you confirmation, know that we are real, so to speak. But we want to give you confirmation that we are still with you. We are still watching you. And then there is more coming to you. That's what Draco, the channeling of Draco that I got. So you're right. They did not want the world to know. I hope, because you know what, FedEx, if FedEx saw something completely out of the ordinary on this video, guess what? I would never get it. The FBI will get it, the governor will get it, but I would never get it. No way my company get it.
Yes, I actually 100% agree with you, except one slight thing. I currently no longer think that the government is taking the footage. I think it's all in private hands. Ever since the Freedom of Information Act, because they have to actually answer to us now, what better way than to actually give this to private corporations that don't have to answer to us, such as black ops, which are funded by black operations, including drug dealing. So it very well could be government that takes it, but I'm sure it ends up in private hands. Real quick, let me throw out a shout out to my good friend Rockstar. Thank you so much for your super chat, and you rock as well. So, Louis, tell us real quick, during this abduction that hopefully FedEx did capture, approximately how long were you gone for? Was there missing time?
I know for sure the second day was 7 miles missing, and it was a fraction of a second. I was on one highway, and you're talking about the first one, yes?
Yes.
From 93 to 40. It was a fraction of a second. It's like the blink of an eye. It's just totally unbelievable. I mean, I had 5 UFOs experience before. Totally, this one is completely and totally out of the ordinary. In a fraction of a second, me and 80,000 pounds of equipment transported, okay, in a fraction of a second on a different highway. And I must have been just maybe 1 or 2 miles on high 40 when I finally realized I wasn't. I realized I was on high 40 because I saw high 40 in Los Angeles. The last thing I remember before I disappear, as I was listening to George Norrie talking about UFO and abduction and so forth, I saw the sign I-40 16 miles. So that is the last memory that I had. I was driving through that sign. So meantime, it took just a fraction of a second to jump from one highway to the other one. So that's all I know. That's all I can recall to the best of my memory.
Now, so this is the first one you're still talking about, right? Which you were gone for a fraction of a second, which is very interesting because I would think that the abduction obviously took longer than a fraction of a second. And even though you had jumped freeways and a great distance, which really happens instantly, since these craft really don't fly, they jump, they skip like wormholes. But I do think, because gravity affects the space-time continuum, it's very possible and probable the reason why you didn't have massive missing time and it was a fraction of a second is they may have slowed time or even stopped it or pulled you from this space-time continuum into another and reinserted you back into this space-time continuum in another physical geographical location.
But John, 80,000 pounds?
Yeah, that is
mind-blowing. If it was just me, I wouldn't understand that. Like it happened with my wife and my car. Another thing, when my wife and I were abducted and we went inside of the flying saucer and we find ourselves 90 miles north in the zoo, in the parking lot in zoo in Los Angeles. One thing that really got me is that the scar that she showed me when we came back to the hotel, she showed me a 2-inch scar above the airline. How can they cut my wife, take the fetus, and then heal her in instant? It's unbelievable. I mean, if they're able to do that, if they are able to take 80,000 pounds and jump me from one highway to the other one, I don't know. I really don't know what happened. It's like I'm being prepared for something else. Something that is coming, but I don't know yet. I definitely will let you know when it happened. But that one was different, totally unique. Never ever. This is 6th and 7th experience that I had.
So because you've had 5 prior to this, and now this is 2 more, so making it 7 probable.
Correct.
6.
Correct.
Now
7.
Because your wife's fetus was taken most probably from the history that they've been doing this hybridization project. Let me ask you this real quick. How many times has your wife lost a child during an abduction?
Oh, just once.
Okay,
she was pregnant, and then they made sure to erase her memory. But if you talk to my wife, she's never been pregnant. But she has a scar above the airline. She's the one when she was taking a shower, just pointed out just after the abduction. Say, honey, what is that? And what is this? But when you tell my wife, well, you were pregnant and you were she is not in the consciousness anymore. They remove that. It's like removing the pain or the trauma or whatever it is. But it wasn't good enough for her to stay with me. I guess she got scared enough to run off from me. And this is why I'm pretty, careful of not impregnating my new wife, because it's like they take this kid again, and I don't want her to go through that. It's too dramatic. But as I said, there are people that are, wondering why they do not attract extraterrestrials. You got to have that Aquarius energy. I have a stellium in the world of Aquarius. Aquarius is ruled and controlled by a planet called Uranus, which regulates the sudden release of energy. It regulates earthquakes, explosion, tornado. Aquarius rules the New Age technology, UFO, humanitarianism, the New Age of Aquarius. So if you have a lot of this energy in your chart by birth, you're going to be a magnet. Let's talk about Travis Walton. He was born with the moon in Aquarius, okay, right on his 11th house. Okay, so 11th house was friends and groups, and when it happened to him, okay, he was with
1975,
friends.
November 4th. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. And he was born with the head of the dragon in Scorpio. So what happened is the same dragon was conjuncting that year. So he was supposed to die and rebirth. The reason why he was electrocuted is because he was delegating with a reptilian scout. Let me explain to you how it works. Again, remember the positive and the negative. We're going to go back to this base so you can follow me and so your audience can also understand. I wear gold. You see this?
Yes.
And then when I drive my truck, I have my keys and I have a Louis d'Or, which is a coin in gold. Okay. Now, gold is a metal that shows love, integrity, and it never rusts. It's a beautiful, positive color. It's called the tears of the sun by the Indians. So it represented the forces of the sun or the sign of Leo. Okay. Now, the opposite of gold or something that rusts is metal. And with metal, you build tank and you build knife and machine gun.
Irons, things like that.
So,
yes.
When Travis was driving with his friend, because he's an Aries and he jumped, like all Aries, which is the baby of the zodiac, they don't think they just go. It's a pretty aggressive and impatient sign. So he went under the flying saucer. But you need to remember, he was in a truck. The truck was loaded with tools, and it's Arizona. So everybody wore the gun and knives. So
open carry state. That's right.
So right, this negative energy is what attracted the reptilians, and they electrocuted him because he was not invited. Listen, I was under flying saucers, 30 feet. I was inside the flying saucer, that close. I haven't been electrocuted. I didn't fry. So, but I'm trying to tell you, if you wear gold, if you keep an open mind, and let's hope you have enough Aquarius energy in your chart, you will be a magnet to extraterrestrials. For some reason, again, a magnet will attract a piece of wood, and they do not integrate themselves on this dense physical world when they feel like. Draco tell me they have to use a uranic energy. This is why this uranic energy is so vital for them. It's like the NASA when they send the shuttle. They don't send it when they feel like. They have to watch to make sure there is a specific alignment to get the inertia from the Earth or the Moon, gravitational forces. I'm not into launching NASA projectile shuttle. What I'm trying to tell you is our scientists are using those. They have to use not only the mechanical component, but also the technology, and they have to use mathematics. And the extraterrestrials are the same. The only difference is that the extraterrestrials are master of matter. They are the most brilliant. They would make the most intelligent human being look like a child in terms of intellectual capacity and what they are able to do. So I believe their own IE is what make them machines who have lost the soul or the connection with God and the divine. And this is why they are particularly interested with people who have a high level of spiritual values.
Let me say real quick, 2 quick comments. I'm so glad you brought up the gold and the protection, because from what I understand is the Anunnaki first came here and they created the hybrid race by breeding with us, as it said in the Bible. They, bred with the woman of this earth, and they used us as slaves to create, to mine gold for the monatomic gold. And I bet, because the so-called gods, which is what I believe everything in so-called mythology refers to as gods, was in fact extraterrestrials, or as other people say, ancient astronauts, was the reason and still is the reason why we have a huge fascination with gold. I don't think it's simply because it's pretty. It's a soft, precious metal. It's shiny. Exactly. So thank you for saying that. And also, real quick, when you said 80,000 pounds, for everybody out there, keep in mind that is 40 metric tons. That's a huge freaking number. Real quick, let me throw another shout out since I just got a super chat from Merry Christmas 2.0. Let me read this to you. He says, aliens are fallen angels. This is part of the great deception the Bible warns us about. How would you respond to that?
Oh my gosh. I mean, fallen angel or guardian angel, you can give them wings. It is right in some ways. The reptilians are part of the demonic force. For the lack of word, is what Christians call the devil. And this is why, again, in reference to gold, the draconis are using the forces of the sun, the forces of the light. Leo, the sun, is love and light, is gold to support life, to support positivity, expansion, promotion, anything that expand and love. While the falling angel, as she says, are definitely the Satan angels or the negative reptilians who do not want us to grow into the light because they would die.
I'm glad you said that because I know, this is my belief, and I know this is the belief of many people, millions and millions upon people in this world, including yourself, which, again, you've also taught me. There are ETs that come here for good purposes. There's probably even more ETs that come here that don't care about us. They're there for their own purposes. And then there exist the ETs that come here for negative purposes.
The Galactic Federation of Grand Cosmic Order is very clear, Draco channeled me. He told me that no extraterrestrial is allowed to interfere with the human's affair. However, under very specific circumstances when it comes to contactee that have a specific mission, that's a different story. But the reptilians don't care. They abduct people all the time because they want fear, they want negativity, they want them to be insecure, they want you to be frightened to death. So that is their food, pretty much like a dog, like fleas who need a dog to suck the blood. So the beauty of being a human being and being cosmic conscious and being aware of those entities is that you don't feed them. You're not afraid of them. You don't feed them. Well, they're going to look for another host. It's as simple as that. And you have to use the same tools that they have. They use psychical power. They use psychical negative energy. So if you understand their game and you don't want to feed them with fear, with ignorance, with stupidity, with aggressivity, with lack of concern and greed and God knows what, then you start to aim towards the draconis and the forces of the sun and gold and love and light and happiness. It's so simple. It's a choice between the positive or the negative, the yin and yang. That's what it comes down to it. And both of those energies cannot be without each other. And that's what the problem is. You need to understand to keep that balance. That's why those good extraterrestrials are constantly battling those negative extraterrestrials as they hang around. So you see a lot of meteorite, a lot of things going down, and all of a sudden, of course, the scientific community, which there is a meteor, most of the time is one of those ships that have been destroyed and enter our atmosphere and just volatiles. It's coming from the God knows where. And you're talking about not scout ships like the one that crashed in New Mexico in 1947, okay? You're talking about ships that can be bigger than the Earth.
Yes.
Wait a minute here.
That's huge. It sounds like well larger than a mothership. Bigger than Earth sounds like the entire species goes from place to place.
Well, we are right here, right now on our spaceship. We are aliens to many of those aliens. Okay, but a lot of people are not challenged to think that way. Okay, every single star that you see out there, John, supports life. Contrary to what scientific community tells you, but it's not a life that you can see, perceive, or comprehend with your 5 human, rational, limited senses. Okay, yes. There is life everywhere. But you can only see dead planet or light because that's all you are allowed to see. Pretty much like a fish. A fish does not know that you're operating a laptop on this world. He's stuck on his water world. He has his limitation and he's not supposed to live with us. That's why I'm completely against NASA when they want you to believe one day we're going to live on Mars. No, you never will live on Mars. It's impossible. We're already on Mars using technology. That is right. That is the way to do it. Now when you see all these billionaires gathering billions of dollars together to
Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, just to name two that are planning colonies on Moon, Mars, and actually trying to create satellites that will have up to 10 million people each. Wow.
Oh my God. I mean,
Yeah.
this is so deceiving. What happened is those people are trying to reach their kind who will be able to pay a few $1 million to go on space station to give a good look to Mother Earth. Okay, but you ain't gonna go there. I ain't gonna go there, and none of your listeners are gonna go there.
We need some flat earthers to go up there so they see the damn Earth is round.
Exactly. We should put those resources towards education. You know what? There is an organization out there that teaches you on a daily basis how to kill, how to hurt people. Would it be from the government? Would it be from the army or the navy or private organization? There are schools that teach you how to hurt and kill. Where is my school where I can teach how to love, how to understand someone, how to relate to God, cosmic design, how to translate and use His will? As I always says to my students, God created the stars and the heavens a little bit more than the sake of beauty. Or certainly not for the scientists to play or make little robots. He created the stars so that you could investigate them and lead a safer and more productive life. That's why God created the stars. And then you have all these educated idiots out there spending fortune trying to understand the universe. They know nothing at all of their next door solar system spiritual values. That is a sacrilege, as we say in French. You know, and what is worse is any kid, any responsible parents knows that their child has to swallow 2,000 years of human evolution in what, 3, 4, 5 years? Okay. You teach them geography, science, languages, the art, history. But who is there to teach those children their relationship with the divine, their UCR, their unique celestial identity? So those kids cannot regenerate anymore. So they are looking for answer on Google. Well, they're going to end up, atheist, joining the Mormon or Scientology or any type of religion that was created by the reptilians, because all religion create chaos. And next thing you know, they're going to be so depleted, so lack of energy to survive that they're going to get a gun. They're going to go to school and they're going to tell you something is missing in the curriculum vitae. Okay? Nobody is telling us who we are, where we come from, and where are we going. So I'm going to kill everybody and then I'm going to kill myself. This is why it will be completely and entirely impossible to stop school shooting. And it's remarkable that we spent so many months so far without one. It's coming. It's pretty much like what's going on with the cops right now. It will never stop. It's going to get worse. Because what's going on right now, John, is that we have interfered with God's cosmic laws. You talk about God or you talk about people like me, spiritualists, spoiled hat, whatever it is. They ridicule our wisdom. The wisdom of all erudite men who build pyramid, making sure each one of these buildings faces a specific constellation. So they ridicule our work, okay? Because they are infected by the reptilians and they don't have the mental capacity to exit their own little rational intelligence, if I may use that word.
Yes, absolutely. And, I can't believe that right now we're actually undergoing this bizarre, crazy time where the radical socialists want to destroy defund our police forces.
It's ridiculous.
Indianapolis actually is disbanding their police force. I'm sure you've heard about Seattle and the so-called city, which is now named CHOP, Capitol Hill Occupied something, where there are no police. It's pure anarchy. And I read one of the saddest things today, which blew my freaking mind. You know that people are going around and demanding that our history be rewritten and we remove Christopher Columbus and all the Confederates, which I understand people are not happy with the Confederates, but it's our history. We've evolved from then. We've changed. But the most ludicrous thing I saw today was a tweet. And I'm going to summarize it for you because I don't have it here. And surprisingly, this wasn't said by a black person. I hate the term African American, and I'll tell you why. I only have one African American friend. He is born in Uganda and holds dual citizenship from there and United States. All my other friends that are black are American. They do not have dual citizenship. Therefore, the term African American is false. So
Exactly.
that's that. But here was the tweet summarized. It basically said, we must take down all pictures of white Jesus, his white European mother, and the white apostles. This is racist white supremacy. Remove them all now, essentially. How disgusting is that? Really? You're going to destroy Jesus Christ and a religion that involves billions of people because of what sadly happened to George Floyd, which was one of the most horrific things I've ever seen in my entire life, which nobody,
Absolutely.
I don't care what they've done, deserves to die in such a fashion.
Well, let me insert something. There is no accident. Okay, currently, first of all, let me bring you back last 2 years. The tail of the dragon last 2 years was in the sign of Capricorn. Okay, and I wrote everything about what the Capricorn rules England, the Queen, the King, and all the mess that happened with England, Brexit, and the kids of the Queen, all this mess moving out.
Yeah, Prince Andrew,
Now,
Epstein,
right.
yeah.
Capricorn was also the government, and see what happened to our president. Capricorn was also large corporations, okay, and everything is literally being restructured because of the tail of the dragon is affecting this sign. On May the 15th, the tail of the dragon moved into the sign of Sagittarius. Very different dragon. Now, Sagittarius was a minority. Sagittarius was the Indians. Sagittarius was black people also. Sagittarius was religion and the law. And you see what happened? Sagittarius was also wide open space in Australia. And when I was on Coast to Coast last October, I said to George, be ready for big, huge fire. Millions of animals are going to perish. 2 weeks later, of course, we had the Australian fire that killed all these kangaroo and God knows what. Okay. Now, this nasty dragon is with us for about 18 months. Anything to do with foreigners, anything to do with minority, anything to do with the Indians, anything to do with African American, all the minority. There is a curse with this tail of the dragon, and that's going to force to completely restructure a lot of organization, not only the police, which was fully predicted last August when I made my 2019 and 2020 Nostradamus dragon forecast. So we are just we are not conscious of the forces that are imposed upon us. Furthermore, 8 or 9 years ago, again, I was on George Norrie and I said, be ready for a full restructure of the real estate. And then, during those days, the head, not the tail, the head of the dragon was in Capricorn, which means the government, save the banks and save all those large corporations. Now is the opposite, is the tail in Capricorn. This is why the government has paid us. We have lost our house, or we have lost our security to 8, 9, 10 years ago. Now is the opposite, it's the government who has to lose. Life is a constant process of change, John. You know that. And the news always repeats themselves. And this is why there is no end in sight to anything that is related to the minority, to the police, to the restructure, to foreigners. This is just the stars at work. Now, if the majority of the world were conscious, the sad reality, 99.9% of people on this planet are not cosmic conscious. So they do not know what happened. They are literally robots of their stars. Now, this dragon does not only affect universally the entire planet, but it affects you on a very personal area. If the tail of the dragon is, for example, in your 7th house of marriage, well, chances are, it happened to me twice, and each time the tail was in my marriage, you divorce. It's the cycle is about 12 years. In your case, you have the head of the dragon on your seventh house, John, and it's in Gemini. Gemini rules radio, communication, transportation, writing. So you're going to get a surge as far as communication is concerned.
I hope so, because this is definitely difficult times, as I am currently demonetized and pretty much bankrupt. But hey, I have faith in the people. Anyway.
And that's what it is. That's what it is. So the tail of the dragon is on you, and you is your first house because you're born in December. So be careful.
November 30th, the day before December.
Well, you still have the Sagittarius energy. Is what I'm trying to say. The tail is pretty much on you. So be careful not to degenerate and overwork yourself, or you don't want to get sick. When the tail of the dragon is on the first house, he degenerates the soul. So understand your limitation or how much you can get emotional, even though that you're very committed to this great country. You have to remember this is all written in light. And if you understand the structure or the cosmic code, it will allow you to be a more resilient, but at the same time less tough on yourself. You'd be more forgiving also on other people behavior. And all the people around you are robots. They don't know. They are not cosmic conscious. They're just the way they are. That's going to change once the age of Aquarius kicks in full speed, and our space brother finally come to become a reality. But first we have to upgrade our vibration. As we create our reality, once you have the acceptance of extraterrestrials or the reality of different human forms or different life form out there, then the acceptance is what will stimulate the superconscious to bring it a reality. So if you ask the majority of people if they believe in UFOs, I don't know, because I haven't done it. I'm not in the position.
I know a recent poll.
We're getting there.
Yeah, a recent poll just I think a couple weeks ago said 68% of people now believe intelligent life exists. I don't know what percentage of those people believe that we've been visited, but it's definitely a lot higher than it was, say, 30 years ago when people called me wacko for believing this. There is a question, and it's also a super chat. RC Christian, thank you for the super chat. Let me read it to Dr. Turi. Here it goes. Will there be a financial crash in October?
There's a little bit more than a financial crash coming, my friend. Once this dragon is over in 18 months, we're going to hit the head of the dragon in Taurus. Taurus is the symbol chosen by the ancient to represent money, solidity. This is why you have the bull on the financial district in New York, and the bull or Taurus rules Switzerland, where all the banks are located. So there is a full and complete restructure of the monetary system and all the banks. That's it. Now, the tail of the dragon, oh my gosh, I wish I had better news for you. The tail of the dragon is moving in Scorpio. Now, Scorpio rules the police force, the mafia. Scorpio rules the criminal element. Scorpio rules anything and everything to do with sex. So when the tail of the dragon is in the most powerful, the most deadliest, the most emotional sign of the zodiac, that tells you the dance of evil we're going to have. Mostly because Scorpio is ruled and controlled by a planet called Pluto, which happens to be the base of the reptilians on the edge of our solar system. They have shows. They came in time and space through black hole, and they decided to reside on Pluto. Pluto is called also in Greek mythology the Lord of Hades, the underworld. It regulates the really, really evil, but at the same time, this is the only sign that will turn into the magnificent eagle, which is the symbol of America. So what I have for you is that this tail of the dragon will be right in the 5th house of speculation. Right now, the tail of the dragon in Sagittarius is on the 6th house of health of America, which doesn't help for coronavirus. It doesn't help for work, because the 6th house is work, service to the world, and health. So America is going through hell, health-wise and working-wise. We already know that. That's what I explained to my student. Now, this new dragon is going to go backwards into the 5th house. The 5th house deals with speculation, children. So I'm expecting a very serious disease that kill a lot of people. Now, there could be forces that we can't control, like Russia. Russia is a Scorpio's country. So Russia is going to be going through an entire restructure. Now, that could be means also a war. Not to forget places like Iran and North Korea are also scorpionic. So there is no good thing coming ahead. That's what I'm trying to say. And when I write my new 2021 Nostradamus Dragon forecast, I'm going to channel more information, but I have to be careful how much I can divulge, because as much as I have to be very, very honest in translating God's tools and speaking to us through the sign, I also have to maintain a positivity, so you don't give in to the reptilians. That's going to be the supreme evil mad dance coming to us in a while. I'm not going to give you the exact timing, but be prepared. It's going to be nasty. But America will survive. That's why America's symbol is the eagle. Okay? America.
And I do believe that, the majority of humanity is really good. There is a very bad faction of people known as the deep state. And of course, people who have no care for others, that harm people, murder, assault, etc., especially those that assault children, which are the ones that bother me the most. But for the majority of people, we actually are very, very good people. And this is shown in times of crises. For instance,
absolutely, especially with America.
Absolutely. In 1994, after we had the massive quake, which was the epicenter, literally about 300 feet from my home, it took about a month for FEMA to get here. I remember 7-Eleven was price gouging on water, but everyone came together. You needed water, they brought it to you. We all came out there with whatever food we had. The people who had camping gear brought out their propane stoves, and we essentially had an outdoor block party for the entire month until FEMA came. There wasn't anarchy, robberies, burglaries. People didn't come around with guns and shooting you for a can of peaches, and that's why I have faith in people. Real quick, I'm going to break for this, and I'm going to make one exception, and I'm going to again ask everybody, if you have a question, please write the question in caps so I don't see it as a comment only, and if you can, try to remember to tag me. So this is the only exception. I will take a question not in caps. This is from helidiumlabs.com. He says, ask Turi who the smartest man he ever met was.
The smartest man I've ever met is all of us.
Very good answer. Very good answer. Thank you.
Because there is no such a things of me being better than you or you being better than me. We're all human beings, and we all have our gift, and we all have sins.
That's negative competition to say otherwise, and I'm glad you put it in a positive light.
That's the only way I know how. But I'd like to mention to you that if you have been taught in this world, when you see the red light or the stop sign, these are the laws written by men. You have been taught to stop, okay? Because if you go and cross, you might die, or you probably will die, okay? The same with the metaphysical world of astrology, okay? There is a red light in the spiritual world. And I'll tell you, okay, when this tail of the dragon in Scorpio, which was the criminal element, is going to put everything upside down, so to speak. It's like, I'm telling you, you want to go boating today when there is a hurricane coming? So the idea is to be prepared, not to be afraid, because regardless how much this dragon is going to do damage, it can also be used productively. You're supposed to die and rebirth, because there is no beginning, there is no end. Life is pretty much like a radio knob. You go on the right and you go into the future or forever. You go on the left with that knob and you can go in the past forever. And you reincarnate in any time in space wherever you need to be to burn your karma, to learn, or to grow. That's basically what it is. So it's not a good idea for people, because I just mentioned that hell is coming to us, to believe that you're going to be suffering. You can also benefit from this dragon. You just have to know in what house and what sign the head and the tail of the dragon is, and what to do not to let the reptilians infect you and kill the houses. But you got to be aware. You have to. How can you get help if you don't know? That's the question. That's my dilemma. You can't just be ignorant. Knowledge is power. Ignorance is evil. That's what it comes down to it, John.
Let me give a super shout out right now to Tammy George. Tammy, thank you so much for your super chat. And again, for all those out there who might recall from last month, it was Tammy alone who saved me from being demonetized. So I want everybody to know that because she single handedly did that, and I will never forget that. And I really appreciate that, Tammy, because if that happened, then I wouldn't be able to broadcast today. I appreciate everybody's super chat for that matter, but I wanted to single-handedly point that out because last month I had to ask that, and she stepped up and literally filled in the whole missing plot. So I wanted to say that again. And real quick, for people who wondered why I wasn't able to do anything from that time until this week, was sadly because of medical reasons. From the shutdown that we had, I have, as you know, multiple massive medical problems. And if you all don't know this, we get all our medications from China and India. And so during the shutdown, you couldn't even get Tylenol unless you lived in a small city where pharmacies carried it. I know my elderly dying parents, I couldn't get their diabetes medicine, heart medicine, and I couldn't get what was necessary for me to breathe and stay alive. So that is why I couldn't do anything until this week, and I hope that it continues to stay. So I just wanted to say that for people wondering why I didn't do anything after that night, because I expected everything to go fine. Now, let me return back to Dr. Turi, but there is a question for you. Well, let me see if it's a proper one. Okay, there's actually two. Aaron Johnson, does Dr. Turi believe we are able to alter our future by manifesting a different outcome as a collective?
Yeah, of course. That's why I wrote a 600-page book called Beyond the Secret, where I explain the mechanics involving the forces that you inherited, given to you by God. As I said earlier in the show, you have been made in the image of God, so we are all God, and God is in training on this dense physical world, creating our reality. Again, the key here is to never forget that the future is nothing else than the reincarnation of the thought. Once you understand this basic law, then you understand that the collective subconscious can work for us or against us. But because the reptilians tend to control the majority and have hijacked the brain, the mind, and the body of millions of people, we are in this chaos right now. But this can be reverted again by using the same technique.
Now, there is two questions, but one is directed to the audience, and I don't think it's proper to say because Hummers are no longer being made, and most people don't even have the damn cars. But this other question is relevant. Again, from Halidian Labs, who was a guest a couple years ago. You could all hear his interview here on my channel. And the question is, where is Yellow Book? And you know what Yellow Book is, right?
No.
Okay. Yellow Book is supposedly extraterrestrial technology that is essentially a time viewing device. And the reason why it's called Yellow Book is because there's a yellow tint in the hologram that views the space-time continuum in the different timelines. Now, whether it's the actual extraterrestrial device or it's the reverse engineered product based on extraterrestrial device, that I need to be refreshed on, but that, in short, is Yellow Book. So in your opinion, where is Yellow Book? Because I have an idea, but I honestly am no expert on where it actually is.
Well, there is a tremendous amount of conspiratorial work and writing out there, and I don't usually, particularly pay attention because antimatter do not agree with whatever human can create, put it this way. But as far as extraterrestrial technology is concerned, there is not much I can say apart from that Draco told me extraterrestrials are by themselves supreme master of matter. and I don't think anything that they could produce, even if it's a nail as far as humans are concerned, humanity could remotely understand the process. That's all.
Now, okay, let me, well, I'll just say what I possibly think. Well, at least decades ago, maybe a little less than that, maybe a decade and a half or 2 decades ago, if people do believe what Dr. Dan Burrish said, it was at that time at S4. Now, are there more at, say, Edwards? Or, as you heard from this past Saturday's show with Mr. Paul Blake Smith, where we talked about the 1941 Cape Girardeau, Missouri UFO crash, where that craft was for a time being stored under the U.S. Capitol building? Or is it in the Blue Room at Wright Pat, or even other places globally? That requires a whistleblower with first-hand knowledge to tell us. My good friend Linda Moulton Howe knows a lot of whistleblowers, so I would defer to her to find that out. So that covers it, Louis. Now let's get back to what you were saying.
Let's go back into, if I may ask your audience to get a pen and a paper, and then we're going to write a couple dates.
Yes, I'm excited about this. You told me briefly before that, so absolutely.
Yeah, mostly I want to make sure people understand that the 2 dates I'm going to give are pretty much the same type of negative cosmic window that are going to stimulate the reptilians to hijack the mind of people, which means the same type of energy that has produced the death of Mr. George Floyd and Mr. Chauvin becoming out of order and killing this poor man and that was on video. So the same type of energy is coming. So I'm warning you, be careful what you do, be careful what you say, avoid large gathering, because whatever you say, whatever you do will follow you for the rest of your life. As a matter of fact, I do have this SOS to the World Deadly Window. The dates are June the 30th and July the 14th, right on my website. So if you go to drturi.com and click on newsletter, you can read the quatrain that I picked, the keywords, and be ready for an encore. June the 30th, July the 14th. These are days of the beginning of a very nasty cosmic wind that will directly affect the police. You're going to see people killing each other. You're going to see terrorist attack. And again, I don't want to bring the FBI in my house because if you remember, John, I gave 2 very specific dates for terrorist attack.
And
the next thing I know,
came to your house, yes.
Yeah, twice. 4 FBI agents twice came in my house wondering if I was a sleeping cell. How the hell do you know they were going to be an attack in Paris on that date and in New York on that date?
I know, okay? They probably thought you had something to do with it or were communicating on the dark web with these terrorists.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So it was pretty tense in this house when they came. Statue with my green card. They checked my computer. They checked every single thing, and I told them that I am not a psychic. I'm just a different scientist, and I use a software that was created by Halloween Software in Los Angeles that translate the energy. I tried to explain to them that the planets are much more than dead rock hanging out there for the sake of beauty or for NASA to use to send the shuttle. There is much more in those planets that allows me to see the future. Basically, I told them that I was translating God's will by mastering the cosmic code jurisdiction. So they enjoyed our discussion, but they were kids. They were like 30 or 40 years old, so they never really could connect with me or wanted to learn more, put it this way. But I don't want the FBI in my house again. So if you want to know a little bit more about what is ahead of us, again, go to my website, drturi.com, and right on the top, Dr. Turi newsletters, click on it and digest all the information. But once more, please be careful, because I don't want you to be part of the statistics, and a lot of people won't make it. This is going to be a wake-up call coming to us. Now you're going to see the values of my work.
Glad you brought this up, this prediction, because if people had been paying attention to not the mainstream fake news but actual real news, that this past weekend has seen a surge in crime, from assaults, burglaries, sadly rapes, and murders. And violence against cops. Cops have been murdered. One was
Yep.
shot in the neck
Yep.
and is paralyzed neck down. Another was stabbed in the neck by someone who yelled, darn it, I am blanking out. What is the Muslim phrase for praise God other than Allah? Again, the point being is that this is happening. So I'm glad that you mentioned that we need to be very careful because that day is 8 days away.
But not only
No,
this,
wait, no,
big.
the,
Go ahead.
the 30th you're talking about, right? Or you're talking about the next one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
June the 30th and July the 14th.
Yes. Now,
But what I'm
real quick, too, is I don't know if you saw what happened in China this past weekend, but at 4 major ports, fish were literally jumping up out of the water. They kept jumping up, landing back down. And what people said is that when this has happened in the past, it means that the fish are either sensing the tremors that the earth is about to erupt in a volcano or a massive earthquake. However, in this instance, they had never seen this magnitude of fish jumping so violently and erratically in so many different areas and so many of them. That scares the hell out of me right now.
Well, there is definitely an omen to pay attention to, but it could be also some technological advancement or testing that they are doing out there. And those fishes are, like us, very sensitive to any form of electromagnetic energy. I mean, you're talking about 5G. It's not necessarily a very positive, being bombarded constantly by this electrical current. You like it or not, it's going to affect your head. It's going to affect your behavior. So, and this doesn't help. Again, this type of technology created by the scientists, the same type of scientists who create the coronavirus, is not necessarily beneficial for humanity at large. But it's part of the equation, You just got to keep that in mind.
Yes, and again, this is, as I told you before, and this is why I usually tell guests, because I fortunately have a good problem, is that I have way too many to fill, so I don't have to ever run out, which is a good problem to have if you're a host. But I usually tell people I wait at least 6 months to a year to bring them back, unless there's something that is important to bring back. I bring back far more frequently because each time you give predictions, they happen, and then we come back to talk about them and you give more. Every single prediction you have said publicly and privately to me, my friends and family, including the cousins, brothers, have come true. Everybody, please heed these words carefully from Dr. Louis Turi. Now, Dr. Turi, there is one question real quick I'm going to ask you, and then we'll get back to what is happening globally with the predictions. This is from Jane Beatty, or Betty. I hope I said that properly. Dr. Turi, do you believe many of the ETs are robots using artificial intelligence? Ooh, great question.
Absolutely. Let me explain this from the get-go again. Imagine a world where anybody spiritual, including religion, is sought by the scientists as being an inferior human being, a subhuman that needs to be removed. Okay, I'm exaggerating, okay? So this world now will go in a direction exactly in the same direction where the reptilians went. They will develop IE. They will be able to challenge whomever has programmed them to become even more intelligent and get in control of that computer. So they will be able to even fix themselves. They'll be able to grow, and they'll be able to master any mathematical equation. You're talking about extraterrestrial, particularly the reptilians being master of matter, but they are led into the dark. So they are dignified robots who have lost the soul, their connection with God, their connection with the divine. This is one of the reasons why they cannot even help themselves anymore than to be negative, because it's now part of their survival to get that machine to grow, to expand, to promote even more damage. It's like building a bomb, a nuke, and then making sure the next one is bigger and more deadlier, and the next one even more bigger and deadlier, so you can do as more damage and create more fear and kill more people so that you become bigger and bigger. In other words, you're helping Satan to grow. That's the best plausible way that I have to explain what the reptilian agenda is all about. Maintaining darkness, maintaining fear, maintaining chaos, making sure that you're slave for them, and you're going to be completely oblivious of the power they have upon your psyche. And the Draconis are doing completely and entirely the opposite, so that their experiments, because they have created the solar system, okay, survive these invaders. Invaders have been everywhere in our own human history. It doesn't change. It's just a different spectrum. It's a different energy. It's a different vibration. But we still cursed by these dignified robots. I hope that I answer her.
Yeah, I believe you did, and if you didn't, she will write a follow-up, which as everyone knows, I am always paying attention to the chat. As you noticed what I wrote earlier, I wish I could multitask throughout daily life as much as I do during this show. Okay, here's one more for you before we get back to the predictions. This is Statecraft. Dr. Turi, what is the future holding for human race? Good, bad, ugly, and deadly. Ooh.
All of it.
Ooh.
All of it. It all depends on how much awareness humanity is able to gather as far as those nasty entities are concerned. You can ask any psychiatrist or any educated psychologist or any neuroscientist to give you the real reason to why a beautiful, loving, scared little child, okay, and that could be Hitler, okay, that become later in life the most evil, deadliest person on the planet. These psychologists will give you all sorts of practical reasons, the upbringing, but it has nothing to do with that. It is UCI. It's the universal. It's universal. It's a unique celestial identity that speaks to him, and nobody was there when the German people elected Hitler. They did not know he was born with the tail of the dragon in the sign of Capricorn, which is the last person you gain power, because Capricorn on the negative side is a representation of the head of the devil, or in Christian theology, the devil. So this is somebody you don't give power. Either way, he will still manage, because of politics, to go to jail, and then from there, because of politics, make himself in control. And then the rest of the story is known. Millions and millions of people have suffered the fate of this evil soul, because nobody was there to tell him about his his unique celestial identity, and he fell victim of the reptilians. And this can happen easily, anytime, any day. So to answer the question that was asked, it's all of it. All is that, and that is all. It all depends on our awareness, our ability to fight, our ability to be progressive, to be positive, to be educated, and a world without God, or a world without police. It's a very, very chaotic situation.
I would definitely say so. Now, there are a couple questions that have popped up, and I want to ask you if you want to continue to take them, or do you want to continue to talk about your predictions?
No, I can take any questions. I'm good with that. No problem.
Okay, let me go so I can read them in order. Let me make sure I got the first one. Okay. Is there a frequency that can wipe out the reptilians, and do I have it? Well, Halidium Labs is asking if he's have it, but I would rather phrase that as, do we humans have it? That way it's more of a macro involving all of us as opposed to a micro specific to him.
Exactly. Yes, we do. We do. We have to use the same tools. But again, if you're not aware of those entities, if you're not aware of your unique celestial identity being manipulated by those entities, which are all cosmic conscious, you're going to be a robot and you're going to end up being a victim. Again, this is why the Draconis are fighting in our behalf, in above our heads. There is a war going on nonstop. And that war has been there since the get-go. They cannot allowed, and they will not allow those entities to completely and entirely destroy humanity. So that's the good news that I have for you. That's the only good news. All the rest is going to be kind of a tough fight until we raise our vibration to understand not only extraterrestrials are very real, but the planets are much more than dead rock hanging there for the sake of beauty. And it's the realization of our creator celestial tools. That's the challenge, to understand and to use them correctly. And it's because we have replaced God cosmic tools, so to speak, by science, that we are now in the process of paying the heavy penalty. We went against God's rules. We have completely ignored God's rules. The stars are just, as I said earlier, rocks to the scientists. They do not understand the deep metaphysical, the deep mythological, the deep message involving those rocks per se.
Now, okay, this one is from Aaron Johnson. Are there some people whose minds are naturally not able to be taken over by the reptilians?
Absolutely. Look at me.
That's true. That's true. But you are also very different because you have the ability to see things in the future that us don't.
I'm joking. If I drink 2-3 beers, believe me, I will be under the jurisdictions of the reptilians. Everybody can't. The reptilians will use drugs, legal or illegal. They will use alcohol. They will use all sorts of goodies to make sure your mental faculties are diminished. So they can, look, every one of us has been drunk once upon a time. I'm not shy to tell you I was dead drunk a few times when I was a kid. All right. And at that very precise moment, you become extraordinarily vulnerable because you think you are a Superman and you drive too fast. Next thing you know, you end up in an accident, you kill yourself or you kill somebody. I exaggerate so you understand that we are all very, very vulnerable to the reptilians. At the same time, the more you're aware of it, the more you build up that awareness and the will to beat them and being positive, the less power they have over you. And then they're going to look for another host. Again, the same story, that flea is jumping on a dog. Until the dog dies, that flea will feed on him. So, unless there is somebody cleaning the fleas out, you're going to be on for a fight for a long time. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, this one... I did answer it, but I want to hear your answer, and then I'll publicly say what I wrote. This is from Nicholas Cashmore. The aliens that froze my friends in paralysis, how did they freeze them?
Okay, paralysis, you mean in terms of...
during abductions and things like that, or sleep paralysis.
Okay, no, that has nothing to do with the alien. This is your etheric body. You remember 2, 4, 8, the duality. You have a physical body and you have an etheric body, and you're attached to this body with a cord. It's pretty much like a baby. A baby cannot be born unless he dies. Okay, and that could help the problem with abortion. When the doctor takes the baby out of the warm uterine mother life and he cuts the cord, the baby dies. He dies to the uterine life of the mother, and then a smack on his bottom or the cold in the room or the noise, the baby signed his first impression through the superconscious with another cord. But this cord is not physical. It's high electric. It's all condenses magnetic, and it gets directly to the superconscious super conscious in time and space, or to your UCI, to God. So, in other words, if you take the baby out, you cut the cord, and then you strangle the baby, you have killed the baby. Until then, there is no spirit in the body. It's just flesh. But that's very difficult for people to accept, to assimilate, when they've been indoctrinated by science or religion to believe otherwise. Okay, now, as far as your body, when you go to sleep, you slow down your physical vibration, because you got to be active during the day and sleep during the night. Remember, up and down, black and white, yin and yang, same old story. Understand the basic of life. Okay, then as you dream, your etheric body wants to go out and is attached to your physical body with that rope, with that cord that vibrates at such a very speed of light, so to speak. Now, again, a noise in the room, a cold in the room, and you're going to be brought back at speed of light, and you're going to wake up, boom, like if you fall. But most of the time, you won't be able to move, because you're going to be paralyzed, because you are in between two worlds. Now, if you work around it, you could do astral projection, you could do remote viewing, you can use your etheric body to travel in time and space, and then you can go in the middle of the sun, because you're not physical anymore. But that has nothing to do with the extraterrestrial. But at the same time, if you're not trained properly, you risk an invasion. You risk those negative energy to take over. And then now that's where you got people that become dementic, or they become crazy, or so you got to be very cautious when you dwell into this realm of vibrational system, because you're taking a risk. Unless you have knowledge, don't go there. I hope that explains it.
Do you, staying on that real quick, before I say what I wrote in the chat, I'll say publicly real quick, are you saying that some of it is caused from sheer fear that causes people to be frozen in fear?
Well, not
Because
necessarily.
I would be, that's for damn sure.
Well, if you conscious that you're blocked, you cannot move. Of course, it's frightening. Mm-hmm. You can't move. You're stuck. Your etheric body, who command all your motor nerves, is not in your body anymore. So you're trying to move and you can't. So it's freaking you out. I know it happened to me 1,000 times. I used to fly out of my body when I was a kid naturally. I'm a Pisces. Pisces do that normally, naturally. But I'm trying to say, it is because your physical body is slowly being detached to your etheric body, your spiritual body. That's the body that you're going to use when you go back home to God, to yourself, and grow, so to speak. It's a long story. I don't want to go too deep into the explanation of what's going after life, but that's the best way I can explain for now.
What I wrote in the chat, I've heard this from a few medical doctors who are involved in abductions, and some who have been abducted themselves. I cannot out them, so I will not say their names, but they said that most people know this, that our brain produces chemicals such as dopamine and natural opiates and things like that. What ETs do is flood your brain with dopamine and I'm blanking on that one, but more importantly, natural opiates, which in a large enough dose, you will be paralyzed. Kind of like if you take in a bunch of painkillers or, other things like that, but aren't to the point of ODing, because it's natural opiates, which I don't think it's possible that you can shut your heart down like other people do who sadly die in overdoses. That is the medical explanation I heard. So I just wanted to say that real quick.
Okay. I do agree with you entirely when it comes to that. I mean, if you take a lot of drugs, that cord will naturally be severed, and not only the extraterrestrials will invade you, but they'll kill you. So that's definitely what the reptilians will want to do. They're trying to scare you in the process. But anyway, there is the explanation that you have is logical, is rational. The one that I have is much more on the spiritual level. But
I'm sure it's both.
You're gonna have there is truth in every single thing.
That's right.
We debate it. Yeah.
Okay. Let me read you this one. Statecraft. Humanity is acting like dumb fools, Dr. Turi. How humans act with honesty and trust of mutual respect and dignity. I think there was a missing word to make that a questions, or is it how should humans act? Again, did you understand that?
Well, I understand. What this person needs to realize is that there is trillions and billions of human beings on this planet, and our UCI, or unique celestial identity, says it. We are very different. You are connected with your mom and your dad, your brothers and sisters, genetically 150%. You may even look like them. However, in the world of the spirit, you are a total stranger to your closest family member. So unless human beings understand or understand, in other words, go under the stars to see how they stand, understand their connection with the divine, they will never be able to, we never are going to have a peace. You know, religions which were created by the reptilians, and there are 875 different denominations so far, and more growing every day. They created religion because it produces chaos, and religion has killed more people than viruses, natural disaster, and war combined together. That's a fact. We know that. What I'm trying to tell you is unless you understand that religion separates, and in astrology it reunites, we're never going to have peace. You can be Muslims, you can be Christians, you can be Jew, you can be black, white, yellow, doesn't matter.
Anything,
you have a moon sign, you have a sun sign, you have a dragon, you have all the stuff. So the more you understand your connection with the divine, the more you're going to be forgiving and understand other. But first you have to go again under your stars to see how you stand. But there is, the U.S. Department of Education is not going to get me or my student to teach this marvelous, marvelous tool that was given to us by God through His creation has been cast aside. And that's why we have this huge chaos. Nobody understands each other's. Everybody's different, and they are in their own box. They refuse to go out of it because they've been indoctrinated, they've been fearful, and most of all, also they're also infected in so many different ways. Everybody is infected, including myself. You know, when you get upset, when you get emotional, you're not in control. In the eternal battle between emotion and logic, emotion always wins and you will always lose. And when I get emotion and I start to fight with somebody, when I was younger, for example, I didn't win at the end. I get punished. And that's why people need to understand. Understand. Go under your stars to see how you stand. Then you'll understand everybody. We're not there yet. That'll come during the age of Aquarius, when this very old discipline is going back to where it used to be and accepted as a solid discipline in all our college universities. We're not there yet, but I'm trying my best.
Before I get to the next question, let me say two quick things. Again, people, please, as I read every comment, which I see some questions that are not in caps, since I have to see them in caps, so I know there's 5 or 3 or 9 questions that I have to fit in. Please rewrite your questions in caps and preferably tag me. So if you've written your questions in lowercase, even though I'm seeing it, I have to wait for you to write them in caps, so I will bypass the lowercase questions to get to the ones in caps. And let me say one more thing. I want to thank everybody in the chat room, because to me, one of the most important things that I really enjoy from this is the interaction with you fine folks and the guests that I bring, which I always try to bring somebody that you all enjoy. And you know I always take guest requests, and I always do my best to accommodate them. Okay, next one for you, Dr. Turi. Nicholas Cashmore, great friend, and Mr. Cashmore, if it's time already, I would like to say congratulations to you and the missus. If I don't want to say anything more public, which he knows that is code, but if it's proper to say it publicly, maybe Mr. Cashmore will write it in the chat in caps, and I will see it. That way I could properly say why I am congratulating him and his wife. Question is, are alien encounters random?
No. Unless you have, as I said earlier, enough uranic energy on your chart or a lot of Aquarius, you're going to be attracting them. And unless there is a very strong uranic energy, they cannot integrate themselves on this dense physical world. They don't come here when they feel like. They have, like we do, respect some universal laws. You're talking about technology which is far ahead of us, and they cannot just come here when they feel like. And time matters. Don't agree. There is a lot of things that they have to do, a lot of mathematics. Now, they will. When it comes to the reptilians, that's a different story. They are opportunists. They wait for you to be at your lowest so they can hijack your body, your mind, and your soul, and they can electrocute you, or they can just abduct you, and they can do all sorts of damage, and they can even take you, and we never see you ever again.
Yeah.
So
David Paulides writes in Missing 411, a lot of people are taken that never return.
No, this is not a joke. This is very real. It will particularly happen to you when you are under one of your negative, unique cosmic biorhythm. Now, there are days when you get up and everything works with you, and there are days where you wish you don't get up. And first thing you know, you got a bad news on the phone, and then you got a flat tire, then you're late, and then God knows what happened at work, you fight. There are days where your cosmic biorhythm is very negative. You become very vulnerable. This is where you're prone to catch a disease, prone to break your leg, and that's where you're prone to be hijacked by the reptilians or being taken by the reptilians, and goodbye, we never see you again. This is not a joke.
Yeah, it's nothing that we're talking about is a joke. That's why I have dedicated essentially my life in the last 8 years for this truth, to make sure people understand that it is so damn important. I should have been out there practicing law in courtrooms, defending criminals and other things like that, making lucrative money. But that is not important nor fulfilling as getting this truth out, because we are undergoing some very serious changes. And I believe all of us right now who are alive are about to see some major shit start to happen. And I believe we're already seeing it. Okay.
Now, the only way I have to induce that for your listeners, because I don't like to leave them in a negative note, John, wear gold. Have a little bit of gold. I have a gold ring. That's enough.
If you can't have a gold ring, gold. I don't have any. Knock on wood.
If you're positive and if you don't fear, you don't magnetize yourself. But even though there are situations when you're going to be fearful and you want to have your own protection, the reason why I've been abducted and I came back alive, it could have easily been the reptilians, because I was, 80,000 pounds of metal. I have a target, okay? And because I had 2 pieces of gold on me, with me, I came back. So this is the best advice I can give you.
Is it important to touch your skin? Because let me take back what I said. I did several years ago. I don't know if people know what a combi bar is. It looks like a credit card. It's It started in Switzerland, and they come in silver and gold. And it's 50 grams, and you basically break off a chip. Now, I could not afford a damn combi bar, but I did buy 1 whopping gram of gold. It's a tiny little chip. So is it important to touch your skin? Because I don't know how I put this little tiny chip onto my skin and carry it around that way. I could carry it in my wallet. Was that work, or does it have to touch me?
No, it doesn't matter. It can be next to you. It can be sitting next to you. But as I said, the best protection you could ever dream of against a reptilians is gold. It's like it's like poison to them, because gold is sun, is love, is light, is integrity. It's a metal that is eternal. So it's the element number 1 of the draconis, and what the reptilians feels the most and want to stay away. It's like total poison to them.
Yes, I agree. And I think that's, again, going back to the Anunnaki and why they wanted it so much, and why they've been stripping it from here and taking it afar. Okay, let's see the next one here. Statecraft. Dr. Turi, when and how Vatican, La Cosa Nostra control over entire human race will end or come to an end. And let me throw a little caveat at that. La Cosa Nostra, from what I know, means our thing. And it generally refers to the mafiosos. Now, if you've been paying attention to my channel since I started it, going back 7, almost 8 years when I started with Third Phase of Moon, I have interviewed multiple people in the Gambino crime family. But this question is specifically with the Vatican. So I'm wondering, when Statecraft says Vatican La Cosa Nostra, he's referring to the mob in the Vatican.
Well, if you go to drturi.com and scroll down a little bit, you're going to see the pictures of all the popes being enthroned under the sign of Leo, gold, and you will see the pope being taught astrology by the Vatican Council. In fact, you should Google Dr. Turi Pope, and then you're going to see a lot of pictures. You have to remember, there is 85 miles of secret library under the Vatican. Okay, it's loaded with astrological, metaphysical, and UFOs information. They just do not want you to know. That's why they said, "Oh, you talk astrology, you're going to go to hell." Meantime, the very essence of Jesus' cosmic ministry was cast aside. The Bible tells you that you have 3 wise men following a star. I'll tell you what, unless they made a turbocharged camel 2,000 years ago, you cannot follow a star. The only way you're going to follow a star if you're an astrologer. So those 3 wise men, those 3 kings were astrologers. They knew that Jesus, who inherited a tremendous amount of unique celestial identity loaded with uranic energy, was being connected with the extraterrestrials. He was actually a contactee, put it this way. And when he wanted to introduce our Father in the heavens, what he had in mind is, of course, astrology, or the 12 hours of the day, the 12 months of the year, the 12 signs, the 12 jury, the 12 tribe of Israel, the 12 sign of the zodiac, or the essence of the 12 apostle. But they didn't want you to know. They said, no, that's too much to give to you. Knowledge is power. Ignorance is evil. We can control you. If you go to the Vatican, you're going to see astrological relics, dragons all over. In fact, I have a lot of pictures in one of the newsletters that I wrote a while ago showing you that in the meeting room of the Pope, you see the entire chart of astrology. It's there. Just Google Dr. Turi and Pope Francis or something like that. You're going to be able to look at these incredible pictures that are not available to the public. So indeed, those people, the politically oriented churches of the old days.
Mm-hmm. Now, go ahead, finish that thought.
They only wanted the clergy to be educated. Mm-hmm. And they realized that the power that was into astrology. And this is where they literally went away from Jesus' cosmic initial ministry and replaced it by 10 Commandments and the Bible. The idea is to remember and realize logically that God never came down with no books, but he made the stars. That's what it comes down to it.
Now, real quick, let me ask my own personal question before I get to Tammy's. And Mr. Cashmore, if that tall white statement was meant to be a question, if you could rewrite it as a question as opposed to a statement, I will ask it. Okay, I've heard from multiple sources that at the Vatican, in the tombs that we are not allowed to go to, and I don't even know if the cardinals are allowed to go, maybe some are that live in the Vatican, other than the Pope, who has full access to the catacombs, is extraterrestrials, and that at least one, if not more, popes in the past, one of them allegedly 700 years ago, or maybe 700 AD, making it over 1300 years ago, was in fact an extraterrestrial. Do you believe that the Vatican holds extraterrestrials and ET artifacts?
Well, you have to remember, all religions were created by the reptilians. So yes, there was direct connection with some of the popes and the reptilians who were engaged in creating not only Christianity, but every single religion. We're not talking just about the Vatican here, John. We are talking about every major denomination had a direct contact with extraterrestrials. And then you could see Moses. Well, look on Mount Sinai. Don't look, it's lightning, it's thunder, it's nothing else than a flying saucer that came down. And then the next thing you know, they give him the 10 Commandments. Yeah, and you got to use logic. You got to use what's in the Bible. But it doesn't stop in Christianity. It's in every denomination. The reptilians have created and supported and promoted every single religion that has cursed humanity from the get-go. They do not want you to know exactly who they are, what they want. They want to keep you in fear. They want to keep you in the box and in control. That's why they give you religion.
Real quick, before I ask Tammy George's question, quick shout out to Paper Crane Wishes. I just saw the notification of your tweet. Thank you very much. And real quick for everybody, I have been shadow banned on Twitter, which screws me up because every social media account is under at Dr. J Radio Live. I lost my 39,000 followers, and I can no longer create a new account under the same name. I wasn't warned. All I did was tell Nancy Pelosi that she should be ashamed of herself, and boom, I got shut down. So everybody out there, the new Twitter is at Dr. J Radio Live, new, N-E-W. I have a whopping 3 followers as opposed to 39,000, so I would appreciate if everybody would go and follow me there, because although I do communicate myself, I am the one who is always personally responding to people's comments in after the live streams in YouTube. So if you leave a comment after a live stream, I do have the YouTube Studio apps and I get notifications. So if you ever see a response, know that it is 100% from me. Prior to me getting shut down by Twitter, I was also the only person that ran Twitter, and therefore that was me who responded. So at the time, stay to the YouTube Studio app unless we get a larger number back on Twitter. Okay, now finally let me get to Tammy's question, which is definitely on point. Okay, let me get back to where it was. Hold on a second here. Okay, sorry. Okay, Tammy George says, does he know if the Pope is the Antichrist? And let me say one thing about that. My Catholic friends believe that Pope Francis is because he is a communist Marxist.
Well, Pope Francis was born with the tail of the dragon in the sign of Sagittarius and the head of the dragon in Gemini. So, in other words, he is God representing on planet Earth because of his dragon's tail in Sagittarius. But if he had the head, I would say he would have done a hell of a lot of good for Christianity. But because he has the tail, he ain't going to be doing too good for his faithful millions of people following him. Knowing currently the tail of the dragon is conjuncting his natural dragon's tail, there is no good news for our Pope, probably around September or maybe early June next year. So sorry.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Okay, now I am going to make this final exception for the next 2 people. Again, people, please, from now on, I beg of you, write questions in caps unless you are asking them to other people. From now on, if I see a question in lowercase, I will assume you are asking it not of me or the guest, but of someone in the chat. So, with that being said, Paper Crane Wishes says, what about alien disclosure? What does he see in regards to us learning more about ET?
Well, you're doing it right now. You don't have to look too far to see extraterrestrial. They are part of your physical and spiritual conception. Remember, the left side of your head is the reptilius and the right side is the draconis. Mm-hmm. Anytime you're negative, you are under the jurisdictions of the ETs. You are completely under the jurisdiction of the good and the bad extraterrestrials at every single waking moment of your life. Now, to actually see an extraterrestrial or a flying saucer, you have to be part of a specific denomination, be not being only abducted successively, progressively for specific purpose, and become a contactee like me. But in many ways, extraterrestrials will become a reality when you increase your own vibration and accept them without any doubt. And that's going to take a while, but it's accelerating real fast because there is a hell of a lot of activity going on with what's going on in the world right now. They are watching very closely, making sure, again, their agenda and their products, which means the human race, is not going to dust.
Sig Sawyer, I think I said that properly, and very cool name. I believe that is the name of a firearm. Please correct me if I am wrong. And this is the final question I will ask in lowercase. Of course, I will finish asking the rest of the questions in chat, even if we go a few minutes over, just so everyone has a chance. Is there an Atlantis sky dome?
Atlantis is definitely something that is real, but again, I am not an expert on the Atlantis, but I am entirely, completely convinced that extraterrestrials were pretty active during this time in space. But all this under the water for very specific purpose, very specific reasons, and it could be, of course, in one of these deadly battle between the reptilians and the draconis that have been on this planet well before we were here, when they were building it. So the war didn't start just now. It's been around since the get-go.
RC Christian, thank you for properly tagging me and in caps. Is there a significance or symbolism in the number 500 million from the Georgia Guidestones?
500 million is the time of blinking your eyes for extraterrestrials, or in the affairs involving many disappeared civilizations. If you could go a few hundred miles below your feet and look into the magma, you would see a hell of a lot of disappeared civilization that you would never ever heard of. So, when you give a number, in time and space, there is no time and space, so it's very difficult to answer anything with numbers, knowing there is no time and space.
Statecraft. Is Buddhism better than all those 875 religions?
What was the first word you said, John?
Is Buddhism better than...
Oh, Buddhism.
Yeah.
Well, I am Christian because I was born in France. If I was born in the Middle East, in Asia, or anywhere else for that matter, I would be a Buddhist. So you're already preset by your early teachers and their teachers, which is a grandmother, etc., to adapt to a system which is set by the political environment. So to me, if I had to choose, honestly, a religion, I would choose Buddhism because there is a high respect for life, especially for nature and animals. So, but, it's still man-made. It's still man-made. It's not, there is still negativity in any and every single religion that produce any form of restrictions or fears. But again, I would think Buddhism is one of the best religions ever created by the reptilians.
Statecraft. When China and India war flare up, and who will lose and win the war between China and India, which I'm sure you're aware right now they are having major disputes at their border. We are trying to mediate with them, and I believe just the other night 20 people had died in an attack.
Right, on the border. Well, basically, I already answered that earlier when I talk about the evil dance of reptilians, which is going to curse the planet in about, I'd say, 18 months from now, when the tail of the dragon moves in Scorpio. India is also a very scorpionic country. Of course, Russia will be brought into the conflict. So there is not much good news. All I can tell you is a lot of kids are going to go.
Sig Sawyer, this is a follow-up to the "Is there Atlantis sky dome?" question, which says, "And are there petrified giant rocks formed?"
Well, you know what? In time and space, your imagination is your limit as far as whatever civilization was walking planet Earth. So giants are definitely part of our history, and it has been proven anyway by geologists that there are giants. Civilization, the giant that was walking planet Earth once upon a time. I don't have enough information to answer that correctly or properly or accurately for that matter, but I do believe that there were once upon a time giant walking on planet Earth.
I agree so too. As a matter of fact, I believe the Anunnaki were between 10 and 12 foot tall. I spoke and have interviewed a DIA, Defense Intelligence Agent, who was present in Afghanistan when they killed a giant who killed approximately 12 United States Marines, was literally taking bullets and not being harmed, and would literally grab people and just from at their torso and just rip them with ease. The name of the darn city is eluding me. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. It's a very famous case. Kandahar. So that's what it is. Kandahar. And
Kandahar,
that's
yes.
right.
And,
so I believe the giants are still here.
Oh yes, I mean if you look at the Bigfoot, I mean I wouldn't pick up a fight with Bigfoot. Chances are your bullet would do nothing to this big monster guy. So giants are already with us somewhere in our mountains.
Okay, now Jane Beatty, I hope I said that right, or is it Betty? Now I'm going to be in the spotlight for a quick moment. This is a brilliant question. I'm glad you are asking this. She says, Dr. J, do you believe Jesus' mother was artificially inseminated? I was born into the Greek Orthodox Church. I didn't learn to speak English till I was 4, so milao Elinika ke xero taglika. And although I am Greek Orthodox and have always been Christian, I still go to church. I even baptized my little goddaughter, who's now 4, in the Greek Orthodox religion. I also belong to some pseudo religions such as Temple of Set and COS, which are probably closely associated to Buddhism. However, my own personal belief, and somehow I have known this, I don't know how, since I was a child. And this goes back to even before I learned to speak English and was taken to Sunday school, when I was first being taught about Jesus. And my immediate thing, what I said, was I jumped up and said, Jesus was an alien. And I was taken to the principal's office. Yes, the principal was there on the weekends. I had red pepper placed in my mouth. I couldn't speak English for darn's sake, and she didn't speak Greek. And I'm sitting there crying, a little 4-year-old, and she pulls out a yardstick and I presume was threatening to hit me for blasphemy. But I still believe that women who are abducted and are inseminated and have not had sex and come back and all of a sudden are taken later on and fetuses removed. Mother of Jesus Christ, Mary, was an abductee, in my belief. Angel Gabriel was an extraterrestrial. The reason Angel Gabriel has been painted with wings is probably, in my opinion, not because he had physical wings, but for the artist to illustrate that creature had the ability to fly, probably using technology. And also the 3 kings that were following the star to go to Jesus' birth were probably following an extraterrestrial craft. So yes, I do believe the most celebrated hybrid in human history is the one and only Jesus Christ. Now,
Amen.
This actually very much conflicts with what I've been taught. all my life, and I still attend church, but I firmly believe that and have believed that for at least 37 years, and I am a little over 40, so chances are um, somewhere in that age very early on is I just know it. So thank you for that question. Now, let me get to the next one for you. Okay, statecraft. When and how China? Oh no, we asked that. I think that was written again. Okay, Nicholas Cashmore. Are aliens involved in human reproduction?
Oh, that's definitely a good question. As much as Jesus was definitely a contactee, following the stars and astrology always involved UFOs and the Draconis, you need to remember that the reptilians are also extraordinarily active. For example, let's use a young mother. She doesn't know better. She smokes, she drinks, she parties, and she becomes very vulnerable. And then it goes to the infestation. The reptilians will go inside the womb of that woman and will make sure to manipulate the gene of that baby. The next thing you know, you have an autistic child, you have a Down syndrome child, and of course, you're going to have a gay or lesbian child. This doesn't mean negativity against anyone of any preference genders, because my students, my friends, my clients, God knows what, many of them are gays, and they are very gifted, very beautiful people.
Yes.
What I'm trying to tell you is the same work that was done progressively and positively as far as Jesus is concerned in his mission as an abductee to promote beauty and love in the world during those days. Okay, the reptilians do the same today. But the result is not a Jesus, and is not an abductee. It's somebody that is sudden enough suffering drastically. The difficulty to raise such a child is enormous. The responsibility exorbitant. The pain, not talking about it. If you're a father and you sudden enough have a child with is Down syndrome or gay, could bring a hell of a lot of conflict. This is exactly what the reptilians do.
Okay, David Nazarian. And how many races of aliens are coming? I don't know if he means coming in the future or have been coming and are currently here.
Well, there is, oh gosh, how many races we have as far as we are concerned on planet Earth. You're talking about eternity here. Mm-hmm. So you cannot put a number on the variety of lives out there. There is only two groups of ET though, okay? The good one and the bad one. And now there is incalculable amount of variety and numbers of those extraterrestrials. We are delegating sudden enough with a negative group of ET who have found this piece of real estate, which is priceless, we call Earth, and they have decided to wanted to hijack it to support their negative, evil purpose, the darkness, put it this way. So I hope that answers your question, my friend.
There are two questions by statecraft. Let me ask them one by one. Is the Indian Prime Minister a dumb fool and a Manchurian candidate by Nazi operators?
Yeah, and I try to stay clear from any form of political views and values and judgment. If I had the stars in front of me, I could tell you exactly how God programmed that human being and what type of good or sins of virtue he has in his makeup. So I cannot talk about the Indian Prime Minister or his motivation, political motivation, because I don't know enough about that person on my own field.
Second question. If it's directed to me, I'll do my best, but I'm going to defer it to my good friend and guest, Dr. Turi. Why so many UFOs get out and get in, enter and exit in millions, billions, trillions, and zillions inside our sun's star every second? I don't know, but I can tell you, if you've all been paying attention to the mainstream news this day, again, not the fake news, even though it was said there, mainstream scientists now say that in our galaxy, the Milky Way, a very conservative number is that there is at least 36 advanced extraterrestrial intelligent civilizations. And again, that is a very conservative number. I believe it is far higher than that. They didn't talk about what is coming here, and I'm sure they never will, because fake news don't do that. But
No.
pay attention to shows like this, Dr. Turi's newsletter, and every show he's on, and also Third Phase of Moon for breaking news all the time, and of course my dear friend Linda Moulton Howe, who is one of the best reporters as far as on point and always with breaking news. There are many people I would love if I had more time to plug in, but that's just a few off the top of my head. But I don't know what to say other than to say that we are having a massive amount of more extraterrestrials watching us and visiting us, possibly because we're undergoing some massive changes. And before I say this again to you, Dr. Turi, Dave Nazarian added to that in the near future. So go ahead and take that. What would you say about that?
Well, all I can tell you is there's so much to learn about extraterrestrials. And I channeled Draco, and I'm going to be doing a cruise, the Chariot of the God cruise in Mexico. That's going to be from March 7th to the 14th in 2021. There is a bunch of UFO conference and cruise that I have to do. Much of those questions, I will answer them depending on how much Draco is willing to divulge, because there is a lot of things that I'm not allowed to talk about, mostly because people would not be able to either accept it or realize the enormous reality of what those extraterrestrials wants to do and are capable of doing. So I can only first of all thank you for being such a beautiful platform. Thank you for being my friend. I hope to hug you when I see you in LA again. I can only answer so much for the time being, but during those conferences in the future, I will answer and prove the reality of the connection that I have with Draco, psychically, of course, like I did in my last conference, where Linda was also. I'm going to see her again there.
Right?
She was there with me, and then she's going to be back on Chariot of the God also with a bunch of UFOs, because you can click on the banner. It's on my newsletter on my website, and then join us over there. I'm also going to do something very special in all my UFO conference. A lot of people are saying to me, Dr. Turi, you're 70 years old, yet you look much younger than your age.
You look like you're 40.
Thank you. It's because I teach anti-aging or Nostradamus homeopathic medicine. A lot of women, they are using very, very expensive products on their skin to get that, to turn the clock back. And believe me, none of these products, regardless of expensive they are, will work. They never did and they never will. Has nothing to do with the product. There is some specific tricks that I teach. And I can guarantee you that after 5 minutes in the session, when I teach you to reverse the clock on your face, you're going to feel your heart in your cheek. You're going to see your face literally in flame. So rebuilding the entire atomic structure of your physical appearance is something that can be done naturally. So that's one thing I'm going to do. I'm also going to teach how not to degenerate your sight. I invented a product called ONMT, which stands for optical nerve muscle trainer. So I will teach how to use the 6 pair of muscle in the eyes to keep a magnetic look. I will also teach people how to heal themselves from any disease, including cancer, by using the
you just broke there.
Once I'm done with my... Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. For a moment you froze, but you
I'm so sorry. What I'm trying to tell you is I will talk about all my 7 UFOs experience. I have a formidable slideshow, pictures that were not shown in the movie on Amazon Prime. but I will also prove that Draco is real. I'm going to do things that, unless you're attached by the divine, you can't do it. It's all psychical. It's unarguable. Last time I did it, people were blown away. It's real. And then I will use all this inborn Nostradamus homeopathic healing talent that I have. I'll teach people to beat any sort of disease and to turn the clock and then look as beautiful and young as me.
Now, before I get to the two more other questions for you, which I will wrap after that, let me say a few important things. I'm going to be doing something very special tomorrow. I'm going to dedicate a show to a topic that I love: UFO crash and retrievals. We're going to go in deep about that tomorrow.
Wow.
Soon,
Good.
I will also show for you all one of the 3 documentaries I made, because I get the feeling that most of you have not seen them, and they are very important for you to know. There is a super special surprise for you Thursday. It's going to be for a very short time, and it will have to be in the morning to accommodate that person. So please stay around Thursday for 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern, and let's hope nothing changes from now until then. This is why I normally don't like to talk about future. And if you notice, I don't say people's names for quite a few reasons. I do want to ask you all, what do you want me to do? I don't care about making money. I'm not wealthy. I never have been, nor do I care to be rich. But I have broken every bank possible. I am out of credit card money, and I cannot keep this show up any longer. I do need to get to that point where I break even with the show and with life. I don't care if I ever make $1 beyond that. I'm not in this for the money, but I have to be able to pay for this show and to, as my uncle says, have a place to stay and have enough money to buy 1 hamburger a day. That's all you really need in life, and I'm okay with that. So I want to ask you all, what do you need me to do? I am open, and I will absolutely accommodate you all. I have a Patreon page. I sadly only have 2 people there, and understandably so, because I have no freaking clue what to do. Now, for the last 2 years, I have been working on a revamped website, which should be launched this week. And if I can't get any more funds, since I have tapped out about 40 grand in credit cards for this show over the last few years, and I can no longer pay the webmasters. That will be, it's a beautiful site. I don't want to let you guys see what it's right now until it's live, but archives will be available there. But what I am thinking is, if you all want, on Patreon, I can create a few different tiers aside from access to downloadable archives and exclusives, to do something like maybe a private Zoom chat or one-on-one time, as if I'm important. I really don't have much to offer. I really don't know. But I am very open to whatever you all want me to do. I will do what it takes to keep this going, because I feel it is important. If it doesn't happen, then I guess it's not meant to be, and I would hate to come to September and find out that this 8-year journey has to end, and I would have to go back to the State Bar of California and get sucked into defending pedophiles and murders and other very sick people, which really fucks with me morally, and I do not want to do that. Okay. I am also considering doing a Wednesday 1-hour show, and the reason why it would have to be 1 hour is because I do not want to run against my good friend Linda Moulton Howe. I would do the show 5 to 6 Pacific, 8 to 9 Eastern, therefore I would be done with 30 minutes to spare for all people to go and check out Earth Files. Today's show was a little later than normal because I had to accommodate Dr. Turi, but I generally don't like to compete with other people. I know right now Fade to Black is on, and soon other things will be start, so that is why the time slot I choose, 5 to 7 Pacific, 8 to 10 Eastern, works the way it is, and that's why I don't do Wednesdays. Unfortunately, because of massive medical problems, I have about 5 doctor's appointments a month minimum. Some more, like for instance, I have a surgery coming up next month. I have severe neuropathy in both hands and both arms. I have nerve entrapments, and I have a hard time handwriting and holding things. So bear with me as I try to read through the rest of these notes. So there will be some downtime, and I hope to God they don't screw that up, and I end up in another 44-day coma and have another near-death experience. And sadly, I hope that this time, if that happens, that they are able to revive me and I don't end up on the other side for good. Okay, let me see the next thing. I mentioned the new website. What is this word that I wrote? I am going to archives. I mentioned that they will be available soon. Although the majority of everything I've done, minus 2013, 2014, and some of 2015, is not on this channel. That will be on the archives. I could, down the line, stream them, but I wanted to keep something exclusive for the archives, if that's what people want. I see other people doing that, and at the same time, I've always been a believer in keeping things free. And that's why I'm trying to move into MP4 as opposed to MP3. We are now in 2020. We are no longer in 1990. People don't care about radio as much as they care about video. Everything is visual these days. And why pay for something if it can be for free? However, if it's for free and the things that need to support it aren't there, such as YouTube revenue and Super Chat, then it doesn't really help. Okay, next thing is, what do you want? Who do you want to hear from? And again, I'll say this, what do you want from me? Guest suggestions, please email drjradioliveguests@gmail.com. drjradioliveguests, plural, @gmail. Now, you could also email me, but keep in mind, because I have severe neuropathy in both arms, I cannot type. I have to use Siri. And so, therefore, I don't even check my emails unless I know something is coming. I always generally am accessible, and I do give people my phone number. However, it's come to the point where I get so many damn calls. I tried to get to sleep by 5 this morning, and the phone kept ringing, and it didn't happen till 2 p.m. That's right. 2 fucking p.m. today is when I got to sleep for a whopping 90 minutes. So I have to start to limit the time on phone calls to spend time with people in person. Although I love connecting with people for multiple reasons. There is a newsletter that I have never sent that you can sign up for on my website, but what has happened from people signing up with their name and email is there is a list of over 10,000 email addresses. I hope that by the launching of this new site that I will be able to send a newsletter out announcing everybody that the archives are available and for other news for the future. So please do sign up for that. What else do I have here? I will try something interesting. I will try to simulcast this show on both YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook coming soon. And there is a fourth one. I don't want to say it because I'll screw up the name, but it's Twitter's streaming platform. I believe under OBS, Open Broadcasting System, you can do them all. And I also want to say this. The comments that I read are so humbling from all you folks that I read that happen after the shows are live that I get all the time. I can't help. I can't say anything more than thank you all and God bless you for them, because they're probably the most humbling and nicest things I've ever heard in my entire life. Now, with that being said, let me get back to the last few questions for Dr. Turi. Okay, let's see here. There was a question, Dr. Turi, about your predictions again. Can you talk about your predictions one more time? The current ones?
Well, basically, as I said earlier, we are currently suffering the tail of the dragon in the sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius rules minority. The Indians, Sagittarius rules universities, the law. And in many ways, this dragon's tail is literally putting America in a bubble. And until this dragon is being removed, we're going to have problems with delegating with foreign power, foreign people, foreign affairs, and that situation is not going to get better. Again, comes the next dragon, or 18 months or so from today, the nasty tail of the dragon will be moving into the sign of Scorpio, which is the sign of life and death. So you're talking about one of the most powerful, one of the most obvious, one of the most deadliest and cosmic energy we can ever hope to delegate. And that's the energy which is coming from the planet of Pluto, which happens to be, of course, the base of all the reptilians. Mm-hmm. So there is a full, completely restructure imposed upon humanity, not just you at a personal level, wherever this dragon is touching you. And unless you have a personal meeting or you read the forecast that I generate privately on my Cosmic Art website, it'd be difficult to explain it to you. However, regardless how dramatic this dragon is, it promises a rebirth or reincarnation. The worm in the water will transform into a butterfly. From the watery element where this worm lives, it will transform into a beautiful butterfly. And this is exactly what America is all about. She's dying. We all, somewhere, somehow, emotionally, financially, physically, dying and forced to rebirth, like this little butterfly, and fly straight into the sun, straight into the draconis, being fed by the forces of the sun, light, love, respect, integrity, dignity, education, love, and peace. So we have a lot of challenges in every possible and every front ahead of us. But I firmly believe that, again, the part of God in each one of us is much stronger than whatever those entities and the negative set of stars that will be used by the reptilians to curse us. I believe that the draconis and God himself are going to help us to go through, because we're going to be together in that big, huge mess, and we will be reborn stronger, better, and wiser at the end.
Okay, let's see. Where was it? Okay. Dr. Turi, what role does the Mandela effect play in these times?
Okay, you have to feed me. I am stopped by Draco to read anything, but to concentrate on my mission, not to defer from my mission, so to speak. So I'm not exactly familiar on all the conspiracy that's going on, or whatever you just mentioned. I have absolutely no clue what you're talking about. So if you want to feed me some information, I might be able to channel something. But I want to be honest with you.
Yeah. The Mandela effect apparently is something to do with time travel, where people go back and alter something in the past that changes the present. I've never seen Star Wars. Can you freaking believe that, folks? None of them. I've never seen them, but apparently one of the things is something that Darth Vader said has allegedly changed. Also, the Bernstein Bears, the spelling has allegedly changed. I don't know anything about those personally, and I have nothing to say pro or negative about that, and I don't want to get myself caught up in something that people might be offended because although
Right.
I have my own personal opinion about it, I don't think it's a good enough question that I'm qualified to answer. So that
Same here.
essentially is what it is. Oh,
Right. I'm just trying to stay as far as possible because anytime you hear something, there is just one thin, very thin hair between divine cosmic information and pure imagination, which are pretty much a lot of this conspiratorial talk or whatever someone came up with and then put it on on those medias and people start to talk about. So I'm trying to stay clear from anything that is not my field.
Okay, let's say something else. Oh, by the way, if you all saw in the video, you saw a Paranormal Underground, that magazine. I was interviewed for that magazine in an exclusive interview. I don't know which issue it was, but it was a few months back. It is a digital magazine and is a very great magazine. And if I'm not mistaken, on the cover, it does say exclusive interview with Dr. J. So if you all want to see that, check it out. Okay, let me see what else. Oh, you're gonna love hearing this. Oh, Tammy, yes. Why can't he get sponsors? I would love to know the answer to that question, but I have
Amen. Me too.
no idea how. Tammy would like you to know she loves guests like you, Dr. Turi. So I think that's amazing because I also love speaking to you, and you are a dear friend.
Thank you.
Statecraft. Thank you for your advice. If you can let me know a little bit more about this treatment, I am open for anything at this point because traditional medicine has really fucked me up more than helped me. Why can't I send you a check? You can, Dr. Metalhead. I wrote I wrote my second iPhone number because if it needs to be changed, I don't have to change the one that goes back to 1997. Why I have two? When I'm broke as hell, I'll tell you why in a brief statement. I bought my mother one a few years ago. She is going on 73 years old, and she's never had a cell phone in her entire life. I had been
Wow.
paying for it for 6 months, and she never used it. So she wanted a traditional, basically a burner that's nothing but a flip phone, prepaid. So she got that, and I have been paying for both, which as soon as the contract is up, I will cancel that second one and go back to only keeping my primary number that I've had since 1997. So in the chat, I have written my cell phone number. Please don't share it to other people, and instead of calling, I would much prefer if you text, tell me who you are so I could save your contact and give me your question or comment or suggestion, and please allow hours and even days for me to get back because I am very busy with multiple things that I have to do, and when I can, I promise I will call. But as I said earlier, there aren't even enough hours in the day to do what is necessary in life. So Metalhead, you can absolutely send it to me. Just use that number I gave there, and I will give you an address. Okay, Tammy George, what that not even American? I don't know if that is a question, but that is a comment. So, with that being said, I want to tell all of you folks, thank you so freaking much. This has been an amazing stream. I love you all. You guys are such an amazing group, and I would love if we can grow this channel and the chat room because the interactions with you folks and the guests is probably, again, as I said, by all my absolute favorite thing about this show. Now, I'm going to thank also, before I thank my guest, one other person, Pam Vrettenberg. She is my social media manager. as well as my assistant. She helps a lot with a lot of things, and she will also be helping edit some videos because I am making it an effort to do this as MP4. Now, I am essentially a one-man show as far as the stream and booking guests, etc. And Pam does help me a lot tremendously. So we are essentially a two-man team, and that's it. If there is anybody who would like to volunteer editing or whatever you want, I am absolutely, I do need some more help just to ease a little bit, but I don't necessarily need that much because I have to take care of most of it myself. But for instance, creating some more videos, and I have tons of great footage. Jaime Mason sends me a lot, and I have access to B-roll stuff. So that we can get into if any of you are interested. Statecraft. Get your birth chart checked, the 6th house for health problems and diseases, and the 12th house for relief and remedies for your health problems. Thank you for saying that, because Dr. Turi will absolutely do that. And he has done that for me when he's visited me, and we talk a lot off the record. So with that being said, Dr. Turi, thank you. God bless you, and thank you for being such an amazing friend. And let's spend this time now talking about where people can find you, about your documentaries, and what you're going to be doing coming soon.
Well, as I said, I have this Chariot of the God cruise to do next year. I got also a UFO conference to do on Laughlin. There is so many things that are going to be at me very soon. It'll all be on my website. So what I suggest your audience to do is go to drturi.com, click on the newsletter, or if you look at my website, it's like a labyrinth of information. You click on one link, it takes you somewhere else. But I'd like some of you, if you enjoy my work, my cosmic wisdom, and you are a Amazon client, please click on my movie, Alien Contactee, and then give me a feedback. I have, as I said, nearly 100 people that have endorsed me. Of course, you're always going to get some negative infected people that are insecure or envious. I don't know. This is the way they are. And they cannot catch the essence of my of the movie that tell them to be positive and avoid the reptilian infestation. So in any way, shapes or form, if you like what I do, if you believe that my movie is offering you something different, and I guarantee you that it will, please leave me a little note and I will answer you. I'll take the time to answer everybody, and give me some stars. That'd be very appreciated, because if you do that, Amazon will put it on his own platform, and my message will be spread all over. They have like 125 million people on Amazon, so my message can really reach a lot of people, and that will help me fulfill my mission and help humanity to get rid of those entities.
By the way, Dr. Turi, Amazon is 4 times larger as far as content than Netflix. And for everybody who doesn't have it, keep in mind, by paying $99 a year, not only do you get free shipping from Amazon for the entire year, Amazon Prime is included in that. So I highly suggest getting it if you are a person that shops through Amazon a lot, or just to have Prime.
Exactly. Yeah, as I said, there is 2 movies on my website. The first one was made a couple months ago. The last one is just new, but is just being one of the top movies on Amazon so far. So that I'm very, very happy for all your endorsement. I'm very, very happy with the spiritual people who understand and realize I don't make anything up. And there is already talks to make another movie that will involve my 2 other UFOs abduction that took place. I'll explain in your show, John. And with more pictures, more video section, and so forth. So again, drturi.com. I'm pretty much all over the world. I also have my own YouTube channel, which is growing drastically. More and more people are going there as I generate a video whenever I have time. And I just did one today and one yesterday. So go and learn and then have fun. And again, one more time, John, my good friend, thank you so much for being such a beautiful platform, and for me to connect with all these wonderful people out there. And I really, really hope and pray for you that the financial support that you need, and most of all your health, gets much better, my good friend.
Thank you so much. Real quick, everybody, I asked Pam to drop her email in chat. I will have her create a new email related to the show. That way she can help with some of the communication coming from you folks. And again, Dr. Turi, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. Hang by for a quick moment while I thank you off air. Again, thank you, fine folks. Please take this video after it's done and share it. Post it in Facebook and other places. And by the way, let me drop a Minds request, a Minds referral. I'll do that in the next chat. If you guys don't have it, keep in mind it is an open source social media platform that does not censor, and it pays you in cryptocurrency just to use the thing. It's great. I am on there at Dr. J Radio Live, DRJ Radio Live. The reason why I want to give you a referral link is because I get one token. A token currently is worth 25 cents. They are based on Ethereum. You can change them for cash on Coinbase.com, and there are several Minds millionaires. When I say Minds millionaires, meaning people who have gained 1 million tokens, which when I started, they were worth 5 cents, which means that everybody who has 1 million tokens on Minds has $250,000 in cryptocurrency that can be traded for cash. Now, before we go, one final thing, Dr. Turi. If you have one final thing to say to everybody, a piece of advice, something coming from your heart, or a piece of wisdom, what would you leave everyone with?
I would ask all your audience before falling asleep at night to say this prayer: my future is nothing else than the reincarnation of my thoughts. This being said, you will stimulate the power that God granted you with to bring about all your wishes. And you gotta believe it, because we are creators.
Well said. Till tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.